I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Do you remember that ad campaign from, I guess it was the 70s? I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. So I have zero credentials, but I have a mass media outlet. Therefore, you should listen to the advice I'm going to give you and buy the product I'm about to sell you. In that same vein, I could say, I'm not a teacher, but I'm married to one. And I'd have about the same amount of credibility. Sure, it's true, I have found myself on more than one occasion inside the classroom teaching the youth of America, and even subject matter with which I'm familiar, teaching them music, but no credentials. And you know, you say one bad word, you tell a couple of dirty jokes, you offer up your preferred brand of cigarettes and vodka, and all of a sudden you're the bad teacher. No, I'm not a teacher. I just never had the patience for it, which is ironic because I consider myself a patient man. But the teachers that I know that are really good, like my wife, they seem to be a little short on patience sometimes. Anyway, whatever it is that teachers have, I ain't got it. And I am okay with that because they do a huge, wonderful service. So congratulations to all of you teachers out there at the end of what has, I'm sure, been your worst year ever. I'm wondering about Bach. Now, I don't know if Bach ever had classroom teaching, but certainly he had individual students. And I'm seeing more and more as I work through these pieces how Bach really had the mind of a teacher and had the ability to write pieces not only that are beautiful, but help the student learn a new idea or a new concept, or sometimes multiple ones. Let me show you what I mean. So we are up now to Prelude and Fugue in E-flat minor. It's number 8. Which the first thing you can tell is it's the Prelude and Fugue in E-flat minor. Look at that key, 6 flats. That's already challenging enough, no matter if you're 13 or older. So that's the first thing that's difficult. The second is that it's in this odd meter, 3-2. 3-2 means there are 3 beats in a measure, kind of like a waltz, but each beat is a half note. So it has very long, slow, plodding beats, but at the same time, the keyboardist has to play these more flowery notes and melody lines at the same time. So us skilled and learned musicians do a trick called writing in the beat. 1, 2, and 3, so we don't lose our place. Because whether you're 13 or 48, you tend to lose your place in pieces like this. They have slow accompaniment with very fast melodic lines. Beyond that, it's pretty standard. It's very pretty, and you'll hear it in a bit. Let's go on to the fugue, because this is where Bach shows his real genius. First of all, and I don't know if this is the editor or if this is the way Bach did it, look at that key. That's not E-flat minor. There's not 6 flats. What it is D-sharp minor, which is the same inharmonic key. It's the same pitch on the piano. Remember I did that trick several weeks back? I thought about transposing it, but it's just as hard in either key. So in this key, the key of D-sharp minor, lots of sharps and double sharps, these little X's here. Yeah, that's a double sharp, which means you play it up and then up again. Anyway, complicated, but again, you get the hang of it. Here's our subject. Pretty standard. Here comes the second voice. Little canoodling. And sure enough, here comes our third voice. Dum, dee, 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 and so on. It starts out like a perfectly normal Bach fugue. Real pretty, real, aside from the horrible key, seems to be working great. But then Bach pushes the envelope, as Bach does. Down here at the bottom, see these S's? These are re-entries of the subject. Here's one. Here's another. 2 subjects entering right next to each other in canon, or like a round. Ba, dee, doo, doo. That's another concept, another trick Up here at this entrance, Bach decides, you know what, I'm tired of the minor key, let's make it major. And he writes the subject now in a major key, and it sort of changes the tonality of everything, and our subject is happy now. Right there below, subject inverted. What does that mean? It means Bach has taken our subject and turned it upside down. I don't know if that really works or not on the phone, but here we go. So the original subject is, and now all of those notes go in the opposite direction. D, D, D. So if they originally went up, now they go down. If they originally went down, now they go up. Another trick of Bach's. Up here, the subject again inverted, upside down in a very low register. Almost as low as Bach's keyboard would have gone back then, maybe. Not sure about the keyboard he played on. More entrances of the subject, more entrances right next to each other. And then the last little trick here, here's our subject one last time, but it looks a little different. And that's because it's stretched out to twice as slow. That's called augmentation, where we take that original subject and stretch it out twice as to a longer value. It's the same melody line, but stretched out longer. Now, these kinds of things are not always automatically audible to the listener, or even to the player who's just trying to learn the notes. They're sort of embedded in the piece of music. And so the question is Bach writing these pieces for little kids, for other people? Who's the intended audience here? Because the people that are listening don't hear those things always, and the people that are playing them don't always notice them unless they look real closely. Here's the original, this is Bach's own writing, the original Prelude, the title page of Bach's piece. This is, of course, the reprint, but this is what he wrote on the title cover. Das Wohltempert Clavier oder Preludium und Fugen, all a whole bunch of German stuff. I've typed that into Google Translate, which my wife loves, and here's what popped out. The Well-Tempered Clavier, it's not really Google Translate, sweetie. The Well-Tempered Clavier, or Preludes and Fugues through all the tones and semitones, both as regards the major third, ut re mi, and concerns the minor third, ut re mi fa, for the use and profit of musical youth desirous of learning, as well as for the pastime of those already skilled in this study. Drawn up and written by Johann Sebastian Bach, the Kapellmeister to His Serene Highness, the Prince of Anhalt at Kürten, etc., director of his chamber music in the year of our Lord, 1722. So Bach isn't just writing these pieces for little kids. He's writing, yes, little kids would learn to play them and practice them, but for those that are older, he's writing them as examples of how to write these types of pieces of music. Here's a good way to write a fugue. Here's another way to write a fugue. Here's a nice trick to employ on a prelude. So there's different levels of learning going on here, and Bach is teaching to little kids and to big kids and to adults, and I find it more and more fascinating the more I work through it. So, after a week's delay and some home repair at my house, here finally is the Prelude and Fugue in E-flat minor from the first book of the Well-Tempered Clavier by J.S. Bach. Thank you.